Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the British and Irish Professional Cup in affiliation with Into the Breach Esports. My name is Machtwich. I'm joined today not by Nualeic, as Twitter might have you to believe, but by Orion in his stead. Nua had to go to the vet for an emergency, so we just got in Orion. No B-stream, but at least we got an A-stream with two casters, right?
Yeah, I will say that it's Nua's dog that's gone to the vet, not Nua. He knows
I
to
mean,
go to a doctor if he has a problem.
does
But
he?
yeah, hopefully, well, we hope so. Hopefully, Nua's dog is doing okay. But yes, I am jumping in on the A stream for now. If Nua returns at any point, then we will have two streams up and running. But we are going to be starting off in the upper bracket here with a quarter final. And we are focusing on match 2, which is going to be contested between Epos. Jaffa Parawa. No, it's not.
No, wait.
Wait.
Brackets are
Liquipedia, why have
difficult.
you done this? Why have you done this, Liquipedia?
At this point, I would like
things.
to remind everyone that Wikipedia is not an official resource and can have mistakes. We are looking at match 2, but it's going to be Whizzy, Leo of D, DvinJo, and RealRoyboi for our first match that will start momentarily.
It's just Leo.
Is it Leo? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just go Leo. We just go Leo then. It doesn't really matter what his name is. The only thing that matters is he came in 9th in seeding, and especially his times on Hoga and Pearls with 5th and 6th are exceptional.
Yeah, Leo has some really good times. Obviously, Whizzy is probably going to be the standout player in this match. Has had a couple of world records to his name. I don't know how many still remain. I've seen a new world record set on frame shift by Leo in the past half an hour or so. So clearly finding some pace during the practice leading up to this match. But yeah, I still feel like Whizzy is the favorite in this one. But out of DvinJo, Roy, and Leo, I'm not sure. It could really be kind of a three-way tie. Roy has really surprised us recently. He's taken a big step up in terms of pace and it's looking set to be one of the top players in the UK going forwards, if he isn't already. DvinJo is a player that was maybe slightly inconsistent, but actually I think set a world record on frame shift recently. So DvinJo looking very strong as well, and Leo is just kind of always there on the pace as well. So a really close match to start things off in the upper bracket, and the first map and the first round that we will have will be on Candy Crush.
Yeah, Candy Crush. The map where, I mean, by orders, should be very, very close. Whizzy actually having the best time during the seeding here on Candy Crush. Just behind him, though, Leo and Roy in 7th and 8th, and DvinJo in 13th. And what the entire map, that entire map pack really is about is just keeping 4th gear. I think that's going to be the trend, Orion, going through all of these maps. If you lose 4th gear at any point, you just have a massive speed penalty. It's going to be incredibly difficult to catch that up as we go into the first round and the first final bit, and it's Roy leading the charge.
Yeah, and it's a clean round for all as well. 56.8 the winning time, so not a ridiculous pace there, but a good pace being set nonetheless, and Roy as well with that round win, showing that he is not to be sniffed at, potentially coming in as the underdog compared to the other 3 players, but driving a good first round on Candy Crush that's going to give him confidence going forwards in the map. And we could even have a 4-way tie here. If Whizzy underperforms, I'm not expecting him to, given how strong he was in the first week. But if Whizzy underperforms, as we saw him do, and as he kind of self-confessed to in BIPL, then we really could have a 4-way battle on our hands here.
Yeah, this is definitely not set in stone who wins this one, as we just want to mention that the format is reverse cut mode. Everyone starts on 100 points. Points deduction for first place is 1, for second place 3 points, for third place 6 points, and then for the final place 10 points, as well as a DNF penalty of 12 points. So I'm not expecting that we see any DNFs today, Orion, but it still could happen as respawns are plenty. Roy and DvinJo having troubles, as now it's Whizzy and Leo going for the finish. Both, of course, having the risky fin. Another 56.8, winning it here for Whizzy.
Yep, good time from Whizzy. 56.8 seems to be the pace again, and there were 3 players within a couple of hundredths of each other up until those 2 mistakes came through. It's just a small clip on the top of that hole there, which you want to go as close to as possible to get the optimal line and the optimum speed to make that risky finish at the end. But we saw two mistakes in one round there for DvinJo and Roy, and potentially that could be what separates those two from Whizzy and Leo, who seem to be the stronger of the two players coming into this, as Whizzy has had an absolutely insane start here. It already pulled out a gap of 0.2 after the first drift. So this round looks to be Whizzy finding his pace. Had not a shaky first couple of rounds, but he was definitely in amongst the pack, whereas we usually expect him to be out in front as he is now.
Yeah, we definitely expect Whizzy to lead the pack away, but DvinJo having an absolute howl in the first two rounds, losing 20 of his 100 points, doing much better now, currently in P2, but chased dearly by Leo, going down that downhill plastic. That transition could catch people out through the triangle off the checkpoint. We go and into the risky fin. DvinJo with a very tight line, but he has enough speed. He's gonna save it. He's gonna save it in front of Leo. Secure second place. Roy just goes for the risky finish, a bunk in there, denying him the risky, but it doesn't matter anyway. He would have been last regardless, as Whizzy again in first place and is opening up a small gap in front of the rest of the pack.
Yeah, we could see that increase in pace from Whizzy there, driving a 56.5, 3/10 faster than the previous two rounds. So Whizzy starting to find form and consistency here, as Leo goes full inside, but ends up right on the outside and at the back of the pack as we go into the first couple of turns on this fourth round of Candy Crush. Whizzy leading the charge once again. Leo not too far behind at the back though. The whole field separated by only 0.2 of a second. Over the dirt, trying to avoid that bump. Leo gets a small bump and it's going to cost him a bit of speed, but staying in third place for now. Different approaches here on the grass. Some opting to go for that early drift to get the angle, and others just tapping the brake on the grass to try and swing the car around. Out into the sausage drift. Leo goes very tight here. Whizzy has gone a bit up and down and his line might be compromised there. Either that or that is a line that he's been practicing, because it seems to be fairly consistent with the other two. But it is going to be a photo finish here. All players separated by mere hundredths. Leo dropping all the way to the back of the field, and it's a tie between Whizzy and Roy on the line. Whizzy taking he takes the win on the board, but a -3. I think he's got name diff there. Mark?
It must have been either like the difference for Whizzy, or the fact that, you know, Roy had in the, not in the thousands, but in the 10,000ths of a second, he had the quicker time. I don't know if Trackmania goes that far. I think they've actually replaced the naming convention with just going for more sig figs, but whatever the reason may be, Whizzy not getting a first place there, and thus dropping close, just a tiny bit closer, but it was the closest round to Ryan that we've seen yet. Everyone within a 10th of a second, pretty much. Only at the final corner, Leo, when he got a bit out of shape there, getting that final and that last spot, costing him the most points as we go into and are always almost through our last map here on Candy Crush. And Whizzy again leading the charge, this time with a bit more space to breathe.
Does have a little bit more space, although we could see a snipe on the line here. Roy's gone a little bit wide, and that's going to invite Leo to come through. Roy losing a full 10 points there. And as we go into the second map, DvinJo, Leo, and Roy are all going to be very close together. Whizzy with a slight lead out in front on 88 points. Roy and Leo tied on 72. And who else is in this match?
DvinJo.
DvinJo on 68. I saw his name and then it vanished and I couldn't remember for the life of me who it was. DvinJo on 68 points. We're still on Candy Crush.
We shouldn't. Admins, we shouldn't be on Candy Crush. We should be going to the next map, which will be Pole's appropriate name, as there's a lot of pole action that could potentially happen on that very map. But I think in the first two rounds there on Candy Crush, Whizzy was sort of looking for his groove, I think it's safe to say, Orion, where he was struggling just that tiny bit. And granted, I don't really think Leo, DvinJo, or RealRoyboi really took the best advantage like they could have potentially taken.
I mean, they did drive consistently. I think there was only a total of about 3 big mistakes, and most of them occurring right at the finish. I think pretty much every round, bar one, where Whizzy looked to be on much better pace. All players were separated by only about 2/10 as we got into, I almost said the identity there. It's not the identity, it's the end of the map. Take notes, Nadeo. But
I like identities. I'm not gonna lie, I like them. It's
is the hole an identity?
I
The little
guess.
hole that you can clip on?
The risky fin is the identity. Let's just put it that way.
That is true. I mean, the risky fins on all of these maps are pretty wicked, I would say. Like, frame shift and poles aren't too bad. Like, the speed checks required to make those last jumps they're doable. Even if you have a suboptimal line, they're reasonably easy to still actually make. But yeah, Candy Crush, if you're slightly too slow, if you come out of that last corner with a little bit too slow exit speed, you do have to kind of take a wider line and swing yourself around over that ramp to get the speed. And then there's Hoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. I assume you've played these maps and know the pain of the risky fin on Hoga, right?
Yeah. No, I never in preparation for any cast, I never play the maps. Can you imagine knowing stuff about the maps? No, I don't do that. That would be professional, and I've got something severely against professionalism here, as apparently Whizzy agrees with me, as his start has been anything but a professional from what we expect of Exalti's TMCL substitute. But right now, a lot of mistakes coming out across the field. DvinJo keeping it clean in front of Leo, and he's going to reap the rewards as he's halfway through the first round here on poles, and he's leading the charge. DvinJo about 2/10 in front of Leo, but has a wide entry. It's going to bleed some time.
Yeah, Whizzy almost coming back. I didn't want to count him out of the round just yet because, I mean, he has only finished within a couple of tenths of the leading pack. DvinJo with a 53.9. Roy with a much bigger mistake is going to be at the back, and that is going to drop him to 4th place. DvinJo there with a crucial round win, actually, as the 4th place player. Only going to be losing 1 point there. Whizzy takes a bit of a hit, but it could have been a lot worse with that -10. So he's probably very thankful that Roy made that mistake in front of him and allowed him back up into 3rd place.
Yeah, definitely, and that victory for DvinJo really important in that very close, well, 3-pack, and it's sort of what you said at the beginning, Orion, where we expect Whizzy to lead the way, but behind that, literally anyone can move out, and literally anyone can drop out. Let's not forget, this is double elimination, so no one's going to drop out the entire tournament yet, but dropping into the lower bracket is definitely scary. And it's not something that you would like to see. It's about who can really join Whizzy in the next upper bracket, in the winner's bracket semi-final. As our second round on poles is commencing. RealRoyboi is behind DvinJo with a big mistake. So is Whizzy. So Leo and RealRoyboi going to battle it out for first. DvinJo and Whizzy going to battle it out for third.
Yeah, Roy is going to be finishing in 2nd here. DvinJo gets in just in front of Whizzy. That's a big point loss for Whizzy. That was an unforced error there. We don't see it a whole lot. Just looks like he went too wide on that drift, didn't release the acceleration, clipped that wall, and it's cost him a big chunk of his points. All players within 13 points of each other. So this is much closer than I was thinking. I thought Whizzy could, really kind of run away with it and put in a dominant performance, as we've seen from the likes of Epoch last week. But yeah, just slightly more inconsistent than we would perhaps expect from him, and the other 3 players reaping the benefits when those mistakes do come through.
Yeah, slightly more inconsistent than we're used to from Whizzy, but alas, it's still good enough to be first for now, as he has, again, the superior line going through the upper and now into the plastic. It's important to keep the airtime to a minimum and ideally not get any as we go into the latter stages of poles for a 3rd time in a row. RealRoyboi struggling behind, but the top 3 very close together within 2/10 of one another. It's going to go close to the risky finish. Leo being hunted by DvinJo, but I don't think in the end he's going to have the speed. He won't. He tries to minimize the route, but 4/100th of a second are still the separation. DvinJo in P3 and Leo holds on to P2.
Yep, Whizzy goes from P4 to P1 there over the course of those 2 rounds. Much better from him. Pace looks good, 53.9. I think that is kind of the standard winning time that we've seen so far. If you drive a 53.9, you're not guaranteed to win the round, but you've definitely got a good chance of finishing up the top. And mistake from RealRoyboi as well. Going to drop him down 10 points, and he has lost over half of the points that he started on now. And there's a big mistake from Whizzy here. Once again, Whizzy making a catastrophic error, and that's going to put him out of contention for possibly even third, although DvinJo just drives straight into the wall there, which might allow Whizzy back in, as DvinJo has lost a lot of speed. That no slide as well is not going to help things, but we will focus on the top two here. It's going to be Roy versus Leo, and they are neck and neck as we go into the final drift here. Roy opting for that more inside line. Leo should come back with more speed and does so. Roy, tighter inside line, might just be able to get it. It's going to be hundreds across the line. Roy seems to have it sorted and does so. 53-9 again from Roy. Much better round after finishing fourth in the previous one.
Much better. Crucial win here for Roy, who is holding on and is just getting everyone else down into his swamp. But alas, Leo and Whizzy just too far ahead. 12 and 13 points respectively. This field has now split in twain. It's Leo and Whizzy in front, and actually Leo leading the pack by one singular point in front of DvinJo and Roy. So they definitely need a few more of those unforced errors to come through, do DvinJo and RealRoyboi. But here, no mistakes yet. Whizzy going for the outside dirt early to carry more speed into the grass section. There's been an unforced error though, but it has been by one of our problem children. It has been by RealRoyboi.
Yeah, Whizzy with a clip as well has cost him a little bit of time, but he has managed to save it. But neck and neck with DvinJo, Leo streaking ahead out front and also first in the match. This is our last round on poles now, and then I believe we do go on to Hoga after that. Probably the hardest map of the entire map pool. So we'll see who is going to be thriving on there. But I think we've definitely got another map in us. And oh my word, 3,000s! The jump from Whizzy, just so low with that ramp cut, barely gets his tire over the edge and sneaks up into second.
That's a devastating loss though for DvinJo. He had the opportunity to close up the gap, but in the end, 3,000ths of a second, just the tiniest of margins. 1 kph maximum, the difference there going into the risky fin, going into the uphill, and Whizzy able to snipe it away to stay alive, stay in that top two that we currently have, stay above the separating line as he wants to stake his claim for an upper bracket match. But as you said, now we go on to the real trouble child. Now we go on to Hoga, a map that is ruthless, unforgiving, and the risky fin is just on another level.
Yeah, I would call this map a difficulty sandwich, because the start with that, I mean, I really struggled with the actual start, like the first left and rights, because it is quite tight, and sometimes you do have to release. I did have a slightly broken controller, but maybe that's just copium. But then, yeah, the middle of the map is nice and flowy, and, you know, there's no drifts, no obstacles, really. You just kind of get through it at a good pace. And then the end of the map as well, this sausage drift with the icy tires is sometimes a bit difficult to judge. And then you want to carry as much speed as possible here, go right over to the right-hand side, land perfectly in the middle of that, and then try your best not to get a landing bug or a slowdown on either side, and pray that you reach the finish. And if you exit that final corner with too low speed, you're going up that risky fin, and the safe fin, and the safe fin is a slow-mo block plus an engine off, which basically loses you about 3 seconds. If you're in first and you have to take that, and everyone else is within about a second of you, you are going to finish fourth. That is just how punishing the safe fin is on this map.
Yeah, and especially because the setup is so different, it's not easy to regain your line once you committed for the risky fin, so you have to double respawn, losing you even more time than you would normally lose already. So this is really a difficult sandwich. This is no easy part really on this map here on Hoga. Whizzy, of course, being the current world record leader, because Why wouldn't it be Whizzy? At this point, that's just the expected results as we go into the bobsleigh for the first time. Icy Tires not going to catch anyone out, nor does this transition here. Leo and DvinJo both very close to the inside, but have more exit speed as a result. Whizzy leading the way. Everyone seems to have enough speed for the risky fin, and everyone is going to get the risky fin as well. A 57.0, a statement from Whizzy in round 1.
Yeah, that is a fast time from Whizzy, 57.0. I mean, it's still 7/10 off the world record, sure. But to drive that in rounds on a map of
7?
this difficulty, 0.7, yeah, it's a 56.3, no?
56.8.
56.8?
At
What?
least it said. At least that's what it says on the overlay.
Okay, maybe you're right. Is that 0.2 off world record then?
That was 0.2 of world record. Yeah.
Huh? All right, you can't, so I'm gonna check the stats.
Okay, you're gonna check the stats, and I mean overlay of course is always correct. So I doubt that we'll find any anything anything to the contrary of that one. But it doesn't matter at the moment because Whizzy, after having a first round, is having a fall from grace here in the second. Is currently in P4. But the pack very close together as we once again head into the bobsleigh. No one getting a landing bug there, nor do they get any troubles with the sausage block either. Whizzy is going to carry more exit speed than the rest of the field, so it's going to be very close. Everyone within 1/10 of another. DvinJo has to go for the safe, and Whizzy is going to overtake everyone. He's got it. Leo had to respawn as well, and he still makes the risky fin ahead of Leo, who's going to lose 10 points and is going to drop down the order.
Damn. That's a rough round for DvinJo there in first place, but just clips the wall on the edge at the exit and has to go all the way around that safe fin. Might have even DNF'd as well, I'm not entirely sure. I can confirm as well that the world record on Hoga is a 56.694 by EPOS. So it seems that potentially our world records are slightly out of date. But still, to drive a 57.0, that's only within 0.3 of world record, which is still mightily impressive.
I mean, EPOS probably drove that one like when preparing and warming up just 20 minutes before the event started. That's my copium for why the overlay might be.
Yesterday at 8:30.
Don't tell him that. Don't say that. People are gonna think we don't update our overlay every 5 minutes.
We don't update our overlay every 5 minutes?
Exactly, yeah, we do.
Killjoy, man... doing...
Anyway, not a lot happening here in this third round on Hoga's. A few mistakes. RealRoyboi having an absolute shocker in the start, but he is going to finish. Hopefully, yes, he does. But it's really just Whizzy going for Whizzy time, Leo following close behind. It's the story of the map thus far, but Roy is getting dangerously closer to that finalist mode. On 0 points, you are entering finalist mode. If you finish last again, then you are out. Into the lower bracket you go.
Yeah, Roy has really kind of tumbled down the order here, and things have separated out nicely. It's very nice, actually. Whizzy has a 10-point lead over Leo, who has a 20-point lead over DvinJo, who has a 10-point lead over RealRoyboi. But as you say, Roy only 15 points left to lose, so he's going to need to put in some pretty good rounds if he wants to actually try and stay in this match for a bit longer. Reminder that top 2 goes through to the next round, so yeah, Roy and DvinJo are going to have to try and knock out Leo and Whizzy here, but it definitely looks like there is kind of a gap developing between Whizzy and Leo and DvinJo and RealRoyboi.
But that gap might be slow closing. Roy's currently in first, DvinJo following in second, so the bottom 2, the peasants are starting their uprising against the establishment. Leo and Whizzy, -6 and -10 respectively. Yes, the gap is still big, but it's those sort of placements that Roy and DvinJo desperately need to close that gap. It's still 17 points as we head into our last round here on Hoga. But 17 points, if you have a string of good, consistent first and second place finishes, is not insurmountable.
Yeah, and if Roy can make it through Hoga without losing too many more points, a 10-point loss here would be pretty catastrophic. But yeah, Frame Shift, in my opinion, probably the easiest map in the map pool to drive consistently in rounds. So
What?
I imagine we'll see a very similar kind of trend to polls there, where the players are a lot more close together, and one mistake will mean that you drop all the way back down to the bottom of the field, and other players can capitalize. So Roy maybe can have a resurgence on frame shift, as can DvinJo. As of right now, it is Whizzy in the front. Oh, that's a big bobsleigh line. Somehow DvinJo has managed to save it. He's fourth at the moment. Yeah, he's dropped all the way back down to the bottom of the field there. 1, 2, and 3. Whizzy, Roy, Leo. Great round for Roy again in second place. Not doing too bad there.
Oh, but DvinJo's -10 is going to be very, very detrimental to his efforts to keeping close, as that was our final round on Hogan. Now we go into frameshift, and I'm quite surprised that you call frameshift the easiest map to drive in rounds, because when I did it in practice, I dubbed it the gear for hell, because you're so close so many times to losing that gear. And I think maybe it's just me being skill check, which is a valid possibility, but I still think that it's a desperately hard map to really get consistently. It's it's the one detail slip up. It's not where you might have a wide line or so. That can happen. That's not being punished. But it's where the steering input has to be so precise.
Maybe it's just because I'm a dirt Andy, and I don't like the other maps because they're a bit more techy.
I mean, that could be it. Yeah.
That could be it. Yeah. Because like this was my best map in rounds for sure, and from that I just kind of assumed that it was the easiest because it was the easiest for me to drive, because my skill is nothing compared to these kinds of players. But perhaps not. I guess different players have different strengths. Other players might prefer the techie maps. I think everyone would agree that Hoga is probably the most difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was going to order the maps, I would have gone with Frame, then Poles, then Candy, then Hoga in increasing order of difficulty.
I would say Hoga difficult is the most difficult. I will join you on that one, but I'd say second one, probably Poles.
Yeah.
Third frame shift, but frame shift for the technical aspect more so, and the easiest one, Candy Crush, I think, by far. Candy Crush, the easiest one to get consistently, but it's not our opinion that counts. It's the opinion of the players as we go into Gear for Hell. We go into the first round here on frame shift.
Yeah, we'll see who is trained on this. I believe it was Leo who set a world record on this map not half an hour ago, so clearly well trained, and he is out the front, but only by a couple of hundredths. Whizzy right next to him. We'll see which lines they opt to take as they hop through the little triangle there. All players taking that line. Some players last week opted not to. Still up for debate whether it is the faster way to go all the way around or hop through. Roy has made a mistake at the back, though, so that is going to be costing him a full 10 points. Whizzy maybe with a slight touch or a release, and he's getting sniped by Leo here. There is nothing Whizzy can do. Leo in first place, -1 for him. Roy actually managed to get DvinJo, who must have made a mistake close to the end somewhere. So Roy actually putting DvinJo on the back foot here, who, unless he wins the round, will be dropping down to last chance. Roy needs to finish in first or second to avoid that same fate.
And we could have two players now dropping to last chance, dropping to that final life that they have. Whizzy and Leo, they certainly have enough of a points buffer where they can allow a few bad rounds to come their way, but it's going to erode quicker than we might think. Leo, definitely, I don't think, is entirely in the clear. Let's not forget, if you're in last chance mode, you need to finish last. As long as you're not last, it's almost like Cup of the Day in that regard. As long as you're not last, you're fine.
You are, but when you're against players like Whizzy, DvinJo, Leo, Roy, any mistake, that is it. If you're a second behind, you're off the pace. So it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough, but all four players having a very close round here. I think it's going to be Roy and then Leo. Unless Leo can get the sniper, it's only 4 thousandths, and then another 200ths behind him comes DvinJo. But DvinJo, the first player to go on to last chance, Roy avoiding it there with that second place. That's going to be big for him because Leo on 26 points it is possible that Roy could actually force Leo's hand and bleed away his points here. So it's not all over yet. We might still have a spanner in the works to decide who gets top 2 in this match and who goes through to the next round in that upper bracket.
And let's not forget, as soon as the first person is out, the points change as well. Points distribution go to 3, 6, and then 10 points for first, second, and third, respectively, as Roy is having a shocker. He's definitely going to be on last chance, and that's great news for DvinJo, who just needs to keep it clean. It doesn't matter if you necessarily finish second or third. Yes, you would like to take more points away from Leo, but the important thing for him is not make a mistake. Do not finish in P4 if you can avoid it. Leo actually dropping down further with a bonk on the sidewall. He's gonna be back in the sights of Roy, who's overtaking him. It doesn't matter. Whizzy with another mistake. Leo currently in P3, Roy in P2. He could be at P2 to the end. He's going to last chance, but it doesn't matter. Leo and Whizzy bleeding huge points.
Wow, the two players right at the bottom, they both go on to last chance, but as you say, Leo losing 6, Whizzy losing 10 for the first time in quite some time. So Whizzy now on 30, Leo now on 20. We might be losing one player here, but it's really heating up on frame shift. It could end up on, we could have a triple last chance if Leo has an absolute howler over the next couple of rounds, if the nerves start to get to him. But DvinJo and Roy, I mean, we've got 50% of the field on last chance. Surely we are going to lose one of them in this round.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be up for a triple last chance.
Oh yeah,
I definitely take it. And right now, Leo doesn't want to play and run with our games as he's keeping it close, but he's only in third, and Roy is right on his here, right on top of him, actually overtaking him now. Does someone have a howler to the dirt? Leo touches the wall. We could go closer to that triple last chance. Leo is gonna be finishing, well, definitely behind the rest. He's not going to make up the time needed. DvinJo in P1, Whizzy in P2 is going to lose 3 points, but Leo dropping down to 10. Orion, now the nerves be big. How do you deal with it now? Leo can only afford one more mistake.
Yeah, all 4 players are driving, all 3 players are driving really consistently, but 2 mistakes for Leo in 2 rounds. Pressure is mounting, and you can really see it in the way he's driving. Those mistakes, unforced, unnecessary. He can just save, to be honest with you. I mean, he was being put under pressure from Roy, and perhaps that's what caused that mistake to come through. But Whizzy and Leo now top 2. Leo, I think, temporarily lost the gear at the top of the hill, and that's allowed DvinJo and Roy to come back. Whizzy having a much stronger round as things stand. Leo going full inside on the grass and getting a nice drift as well. Could we see our first player dropping out here, or are we going to get a mistake right at the end of the map?
Wow, it's super close for Leo. He's really pushing the boundaries. Roy, though, not far behind. Everyone keeping a 4th gear all around. Who can carry most speed? It's not going to be Roy. I think we're going to have to say goodbye to Roy. We'll see you in the... No, we won't!
Whizzy? What happened to Whizzy? Oh
Whizzy
my
missed
God!
the jump! Whizzy missed the jump! We go back to Candy Crush! We go back to Candy Crush, and now it's even conceivable that we have 4 players on last chance. What is happening?
Well, I didn't even see Whizzy miss the finish. What happened? I was just like, because the finish on this is it's not too difficult. I mean, potentially he just went too far to the right.
Yeah, I think he must have. I think he must have misangled his jump. That's the only explanation that I have for an epic whiff on Whizzy. I mean, Leo right now will be thanking the Lord that he only is dropping 3 instead of 6, but Whizzy now on 17 points. This is all but over, Orion.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like, we thought Roy was fully out there. You even said the words goodbye to RealRoyboi, but here he is on Candy Crush. And I mean, Roy had the opening round of this whole match was Roy winning a round on Candy Crush, and we kind of touted him as the underdog. But I mean, yes, he's on last chance, but Whizzy on 17 points. Leo will be dropping down with a 4th place to last chance. anything other than that, and he will still be safe for another round. But if Whizzy or Leo has a particularly bad round, and Roy and DvinJo can just drive cleanly, make it to the finish in third or better, this really does kind of put a spanner in the works for how myself and probably a lot of people thought this match was going to go.
I mean, DvinJo surviving 4 rounds on last chance already. Roy surviving 3 as we go into Candy Crush for the second time. I really didn't expect to be seeing Candy Crush again, but alas, here we are. And now the nerves must be made of, not just of steel. You need material stronger than steel right here in this scenario, as Whizzy is currently in P4, but he's got more speed than Roy. He's going to easily be overtaken by the XLT sub. Going into the dirt section of the jump. No one's going to reduce airtime. Using that little ledge, it's too risky a strat to go for now.
Yeah, Roy in last, but DvinJo in first. That's the 2 players on last chance. DvinJo with a no slide, though. That could be the end of DvinJo. Roy might be able to survive a bit longer, but we'll see if there's any mistakes at the end. No one hitting the checkpoint. Everyone avoiding the little hole as well, and it's going to be the risky finish. Roy might be able to snipe Leo on the line, but doesn't quite. It's only 6 thousandths. But DvinJo will be saying goodbye to him now. Leo losing 3 points, so needs to finish in, I believe, first place now if he doesn't want to drop down to last chance. Whizzy winning that round. That is damage limitation. So he's on 16. So this to decide who stays in the upper bracket and who drops down to lowers.
Who will join DvinJo in that lower bracket? He's held on for 5 rounds, but the 5th was just one too many for DvinJo. 1 no slide, absolutely ruining his day. And now points distribution changed. 3 points for first, 6 points to the negative for second, and 10 points for the last place player. Again, Roy just needs to avoid being last, and Whizzy is having some troubles keeping it clean around Candy Crush here. Roy actually taking the lead. This would also put Leo onto last chance mode, especially if he's being overtaken by Whizzy at the same point.
Yep, Leo in third, but it is very close at the end. They are just edging up towards the back of Roy, who takes a wide line. Leo, does he have the speed to snipe? Roy with a bonk, and Roy is out of it. Roy is gone. He was in first, but that is it. And that is not the end of this game, because it will be a straight fight between Whizzy and Leo. But Roy will be dropping down to the lower bracket.
He had it. He had it. He had it in the palm of his hands, and he let it slip. Too much sweat in his hands. The controller, I don't know if Roy is KBM or pad player, but 1 tap too many on the keyboard, 1 little slide to the right on the control pad, and he is out of the upper bracket. He drops to lowest, and now it's just to see who'll finish in first, Leo or Whizzy. Whizzy has a slight lead, but I think we will see the end of this match on Candy Crush mathematically, as Whizzy is going to be losing 10 points, and that would put him into last chance as well if Leo finishes first. 6 points to the negative for the winner, 10 points for P2, and Leo has a comfortable lead of 2.5 tenths.
He does. Looks like Leo is going to win this round and put both players onto last chance. 1 more round on Candy Crush to decide who wins this one. It is a straight fight, 1v1, Leo versus Whizzy. Do you full risk? Do you full send? Or do you just keep driving safe and hope that the other player makes a mistake?
I would personally, I would go for consistency, because this is the highest of pressures. Yes, you're both in the upper bracket, but you want a potentially easier matchup in the next round. So I think the way to go is not go balls to the wall. It is to go safe. It is to minimize the potential for mistakes. And let's see who has the natural highest speed around Candy Crush. Timing and seeding and the world record would suggest it is Whizzy, but he has a slight mistake, goes too far to the outside and is overtaken by Leo before the dirt turn.
He is, but he's catching up there, keeps the gear nicely. He's going to overtake here, coming into this drift. Leo trying to go for that more inside line, but Whizzy making up for earlier mistakes here. See if he can keep the gear on the plastic as well. Goes quite wide, invites Leo back in. Leo with more speed on the higher line as well. I think Whizzy might have it. Leo is trying his best, but Whizzy does not miss that risky finish, and a great round to end things off there.
What a great round to start the final weekend of the British Irish Professional Cup. It couldn't have been a better match. For all the tech problems that we had before the game started, this series has most certainly made up for it. 24 rounds of chaos, of precision, of evading elimination as well, but in the end it is the expected result. In the end, Whizzy goes on in first place. Leo joins him in the upper bracket in P2, and down to the lower bracket go RealRoyboi in third and DvinJo in fourth.
Yep, that is how that one played out. I will highlight as well that I don't know about you, but that it didn't feel like the match should have been as close as it was. Whizzy was a lot more inconsistent than we were expecting from him. And when we interviewed him on the podcast, he said that he was working really hard to try and come back from his kind of self-confessed underperformance at BIPL and try and come back stronger. But if you think of the likes of Epos, Acros, Boz, I think if we'd watched their semi-final, it would have been pretty dominant from both of them. So I'm slightly worried for Whizzy because he was incredibly strong in the time attack phase in that opening week. Had, I believe, three world records at one point, but just seems in rounds the consistency is not quite there. Whereas I think that Epos and Boz in particular both absolutely thrive in rounds, just drive incredible pace and just seem to be allergic to making mistakes. So maybe slightly worried for Whizzy towards the end of the tournament, but you know, he's a great player. He's played in Challenger League, etc. I'm sure that if he's got any issues, that he'll be able to iron them out quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it was closer than we expected, but I think that was only partly due to Whizzy's inconsistencies. It was mostly, in my eyes at least, because Roy, Leo, and DvinJo stepped up their game massively. They all had it in them. I think in this fourth match, even in this match, all four players had it in them to end up in the upper bracket. And it's not what we expected, but it's what we love to see. And we can see it time and time again as well. These top players, they really expect a lot from themselves, right? They expect themselves to be dominant. They expect to make winner bracket final. But sometimes that works to your own detriment. When you want something too much, you're going to be not as easy, not as relaxed as you perhaps should be, and that plays on your mental. I think that's also one reason why Whizzy had some problems. As we have results from the other matches all coming in. Bosbes finishing first in that winner bracket quarterfinal match 1, followed by N7X and Gibbo in P3 and P2 respectively. Acros actually being beaten by Hendo in their match.
Wow,
and
really?
Yeah, Acros only in P2 for his match. So about the other top players, they seem to be struggling. Hendo sniping P1 in that match, and Zephyr Liffey having to go down to the lower bracket in our final match. Epos and Jaffa finishing P1, P2. Crisp and Jorday expectedly have to go down to the lower bracket. But I believe we have a interview, or we will shortly have an interview with Mr. Whizzy himself. We're just currently waiting to set that up. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we have a prize pool announcement. The prize pool has just gone up from 1,250 points to a whopping 1,500 Great British Pounds prize pool. Thank you very much for everyone contributing to that one. Exceptional, great community engagement. Thank you very, very much. And yeah, we'll just see and wait for Whizzy. But in the meantime, if we look further down the bracket, maybe Orion already looking cheekily at the semi-finals. In semi-final 1, we've got Bozbez, Epos, Leo, and a Crows. In the second one, we've got Whizzy, Hendo, Gibbo, and Jaffa. Both sound very juicy, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I do want to highlight one player in particular, though, in that top 8 in the upper bracket, which is Gibbonster, because in time attack, he was 14th, like way outside the top 8, by almost, pretty much a second off in time attack. So in rounds, Gibbonster has had an absolute belter, beating out the likes of, let me get this bracket back up. Who was his match against?
I mean, he had the advantage that Rue couldn't play today.
Ah, that is true.
So he only had to beat N7X, but that's also very good, right?
I believe someone did take Rue's place, though, and I want to say it was Matt P, or it might have been VigQ. I don't know. Either one of those. But yeah, still, Gibbonster making top 8 after 14th in time attack, that's pretty exceptional result, to be honest.
Yeah, that is a pretty good, not gonna lie. But that winner bracket semi-final is gonna be 2 matches from now. We are going to jump to the lower bracket first and go for an elimination match because those are fun. We're going to go to lower bracket and see what's happening there. I think now we are all set up though for an interview, if I am not mistaken. Okay. All right, we are going to the interview right now, and we have Whizzy with us here. Whizzy, congratulations for making it to the semi-finals, but my oh my, that was a close one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was much closer than we were expecting. Was it closer than you were expecting as well?
I mean, yeah. I'll be honest. I definitely didn't play to my full potential there. I mean, I was expecting to get second in that final round. So quite lucky, I guess. But yeah, I think I've got much more to give than what I could display there. Though. So
sure.
Do you think it was mostly down to you not playing to your full potential, or was it also because your opponents were playing out of their mind? I mean, all 3 of them, I'd say it's safe to say, Leo, DvinJo, and Roy really gave you a run for your money.
Yeah, I mean, it all came down to myself. I mean, yeah, ultimately, the kind of times I'd be putting in this morning in the kind of warm up was not representative, so it was all kind of down to me, I think. But I couldn't really care less of. That sounds bad, but in just the way I was playing, I couldn't really care less of what they were doing. I was playing hard off. I was giving that a go.
Cool.
So
doing that now.
I thought I'd try something different. And it worked fairly well in terms of not worrying about being intimidated, as just an example. I was not worried about that at all. It was just completely all down to myself, mine kind of just not quite in the focus zone.
And I mean, moving forward, Orion, Whizzy, you're gonna have to play Hendo, Gibbo, and Jaffa. Give us a thought on your semi-final matchup.
Yeah, I think these guys looking pretty strong. I mean, even Hendo just managing to beat a Cross is a pretty big effort. So, but all these guys are very quick, very talented. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But I think for myself, it's just maybe take a bit of a walk maybe and kind of reset. But yeah, it's going to be a good match.
Right, Orion, anything from you?
I mean, obviously we've had 2 weeks on these maps now, and I can tell that you feel comfortable on them, but obviously you've just said that you've underperformed there. What do you, if anything, change between now and going into that second match with Hendo, Gibbonster, Jaffa, or just kind of play the same way, hard off, don't worry about people around you, but just try and iron out those mistakes?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I think, Ryan. I think for myself, it was, it was. I know I have the pace and the consistency. I know I do. So, but it was as soon as I got into that match, even probably the second map onwards, I could tell my reactions weren't quite on it, and my vision isn't it wasn't as quite as good as it could have been. So, I think probably rehydrate, maybe get a bit of food, and then go from there. But I think I'll probably play the same, hard off, and just focus on myself. So,
Best of luck.
Focus on yourself, don't make any mistakes, and try to regain your consistency. Whizzy, thank you very much for joining us here for the little interview, and good luck in your semi-final.
thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And yeah, that was the first round, but don't you worry, people. We have many more rounds of the BIPC today for you. Of course, everything in affiliation with Into the Breach esports. And we'll be going to the lower bracket quarterfinals right after this break.